Hello there. I'm Scotty. You're not. So this is one. This is a movie that I heard about, though I misunderstood what it was. Uh, I was told, a Good Boy, the horror movie with a dog is the main character. Cool. I didn't know that it was from the perspective of a dog, and this seems to be becoming a thing. Like, can we not do that? Well, we have to do it from a certain perspective, from a perspective of a dog, or the killer, or the floor, ceiling, anywhere but the main characters. I'm talking about Skinamarink in that case, where it's like we're gonna just follow other things, and it would work. A lot of times, though, it could work if they follow through with it. I pointed out in a violent nature that the whole thing is you're supposed to follow the the serial killer, but there are several times throughout the film where it just cuts to a different point of view, and you're like, well, whose point of view is this? Because at one point we're following the killer, and then cut to this uh, scene where they're all sitting around the fire and they tell a story of this killer, and I'm like, but wait, whose point of view is this? Because we had his point of view, and then it cut to just another camera sitting there. There are points like that in this where you're following a dog, and all of a sudden you see from afar, and you see the dog standing in the doorway, and you're over here, and it's like, but what point of view is that? We're supposed to be the dog's point of view. It's a cop out every time they do something like that. At least for whatever the hell it was trying to do, Skinamarink never showed us a human point of view. Everything was pointing to the ceiling, the floor, that way, this way. Never once focused on a character, which is why I never actually finished that movie. This one follows a dog's point of view. It's Good Boy, directed by Ben Leonberg, and starring his dog Indy. Right, and it's about this guy named Todd who moved into his grandfather's house with his dog, and weird things start to happen. And that's a pretty good premise. You get dogs and cats. I really wanted to say living together mass hysteria, but no, dogs and cats and dogs. They have this extra sense where they can see things or hear things that we can't. You know, it's been known that they can see ghosts or something. You guys know I'm a dog lover. I like cats too, and you've seen my mom's dog on the channel before. When I record at her house, he'll pop on there. His head will pop up, or I'll do a short where I'm uh, doing that whatever I was doing, and he'll come into frame because I fat down because I'm fat. And I'll talk about the cat that they used to have. His name was Trevor. They got rid of him, but he was a pain in the ass anyway. But I mentioned it in one of the reviews. Was it my the Gallows review? Because I said that idiot guy in that movie reminded me of Trevor, and every time I said the name, he would look at me. So, but animals have that sense. My friend Eric, he had a cat, and there was one point where I was hanging out with them, and she's just staring at a corner. I'm like, dude, what is? And he looks over. He's like, what the fuck are you looking at? He's just staring at the corner. He's like, there's nothing there. And my mom's dog has done that. There was a point one time when I was watching him. They were gone for a week, and I was watching him, and I'm sitting there watching TV, and he's staring. We're down in the basement. He's staring in between the two beds. My bed on this side, my son's bed on this side, right in the middle. And he's just, I'm like, I grab my phone, I turn the flashlight. He's still staring. What are you looking at? And eventually he'll just put his head down, And then I had an episode. One day when I was there watching him, because they're going to be gone all day, but they had a bunch of uh, uh, appointments. One was going to take long, and I had to drive. That's going to take longer. So rather than keep him downstairs all day, I came over, watched him. He was still downstairs all day, but he was able to move around more. But I'm sitting there watching TV. Next thing I know, he's just staring at me, looking right at me. And I'm like, what? What? Next thing I know, I feel something cold on my knees. And I don't just sit there. And I'm just sitting there like this. And it was like a minute, 2 minutes, and it went away. And he was staring at me the whole time. The cold feeling went away. He turned his head back and laid down. Now, I don't think I was in any trouble, though, because as this movie shows, if I wasn't in any trouble, he would have gotten up. He was just sitting there watching me the whole time. If there was any problem, he probably would have gotten up, or he would have started doing something. So it wasn't a malevolent spirit, it was probably just a ghost, but it was really weird. It was really weird. You know, and like I said, I've said before that we grew up in a house. We had an old Victorian house down towards Main Street, by Main Street. And I swear it was haunted. It was. I would see people running by my room going this way. And this way was a wall in the hallway. A wall, was a closet, there was a wall. So who's running? What? I would hear people walking. And I'm the only one in the house. Me and the dogs are downstairs, and I hear walking. And I look up. There's no one there. I wake up in the middle of the night. The tour room door wide open. Everyone else is sound asleep. Yet I was told, you're just imagining things. Now my mom believes in this stuff. You know, the whole thing. And back to dogs again. Dogs, they do sense that stuff. Like I said, so it's an interesting idea. I'm not sure that in execution it worked as well as I thought it would. But I don't think it's bad. Comparing it to Skinamarink and In a Violent Nature, I think it's better than those two. People might say no about In a Violent Nature because it's more of a slasher. But I feel like for what they're setting up here, it works. It's a dog's point of view, so you barely see a human's face. It's always like this, because you don't really, unless they go like this, and you know, but you barely see the human's face. It's always obscured or something. What kind of messes with me, though, what kind of gets me a little bit, is that when you have premises like this, often filmmakers will use it as a way to not have to explain anything. So, a lot of the times, we're following the dog. Stuff's happening to the dog's owner. We don't really get to see it. He starts getting this illness that's never explained at all. Where he got it, where it came from, nothing. He's just dying from this thing. And they hint that the same thing happened to the grandfather, but they never explain that either. Because we're following the dog. So we have to, you know. There's also a point where the human character Todd disappears for a while, and the dog's left home alone so we can have him following weird spirits. Also, I get what they were trying to do, but several times throughout this film, they will have was supposed to be a scary scene, and then, oh, it's a dog's dream. Yes, I know dogs dream, but why? Because there's one point where he's like, it felt like a weird edit. Because you see him creeping, something jumps up, and he's squeezing out of somewhere. But he was just standing in the middle of the room. And next thing it cuts, and he's trying to wiggle out from underneath somewhere. Was that a dream? And he goes underneath the bed at this point. What happened there? Why was he standing in the middle of a room, then snap cut to being underneath something, and then... Doesn't make any sense. I also feel like they use the dog, like I said, as an excuse not to fill in the blanks. Whatever is happening away from the dog. Like, there's a point where he puts the dog outside, and then you just hear him coughing from inside there, and you're like, well, what's happening to him? Because you want... And Also, because we have to follow the dog, this movie is an hour and 14 minutes. It's not that long. At all. But I felt like the sister was underused. Really, you see her a couple times and then she's calling him a bunch of times. But, like, I feel like if this was a regular movie, we'd also be following her and what she's trying to figure out. Like, there's no explanation. There's talk about, oh, the grandfather lived in here and something bad happened and this and that. I feel like if we were allowed to follow more characters in this movie, we'll be following her as she tries to figure out what happened in the house her grandfather used to live in, her brother now lives. And what is going on? But we don't do that. And it's never hinted that she's doing that. It's just I feel like if this was, I don't want to say written better, but if this was more than just we're following the dog. Because it's an interesting idea, but when you're only following one single character, that limits what you can do in a movie. And I feel that it's severely limited here, which is why it's only an hour and 14 minutes, because there's not much you can do with that premise, really. Because we don't see what's going on with Todd. We don't see what she's doing on her side, right? I feel like there'd be more. And because you can't really do anything, it's an obvious ending. Todd dies, sister shows up, gets the dog, they leave. Because you're hoping the dog doesn't die, because you find out the first dog, the golden retriever, which that hits me hard, did die. The dog finds it. There's also something with the cellar, which again is never explained. And I feel like I needed a lore drop, right? And you could still do that. You could have Todd or someone. What if the sister? What if Todd starts acting weird and the sister takes the dog for a while and she starts investigating? So the dog's sitting there by the computer watching her, and there she can do her investigation with the dog right next to her. They don't do that. You know? I feel like there could have been more to this movie than what they gave us. It works, but I don't think it works as well as they thought it would. And like I said, I think it works better than In a Violent Nature. It's definitely Skinamarink, where you're kind of locked off, following a different point of view, or whatever Skinamarink was trying to do. I think it works. I just feel like there could be more to this movie. I want more to the story of this movie. And by limiting it to the dog, it just sort of felt basic. Like, what is this entity? Why is it killing people? Why did he see his own skeleton and the dog still try to save him? Even though the dog should know he's dead because the Kiyane has extra sensory thing. He can see all the demons, he can see when things go bad, but there's the dead body and he sees the dead body. The dog does. And then still tries to save him. You can't save me. Well, yeah, the dead body is I don't know. I also felt like they were trying to make you think that Richard, the grandpa's friend, can say, "Oh, I found your grandpa's body." You're like, okay, so did he do it? And then once you start seeing all spooky stuff, it's like, no, it couldn't have been him. But there's really no, he really doesn't play into the plot, except for after Todd locks him outside. The dog, that is, Indy, he breaks through his freaking doghouse, and then tries to find. Well, before that he tries to get Richard, and ends up getting one of the traps, and then he gets yelled at, and he breaks through the thing and finds his way back into the house to try to save him. But I don't know. I just feel like I wanted more explanation to what they gave us, but I do think it's well done. I'll give it a middle of the road for sure. I needed more. I just needed more, and you could tell, but this is more positive than the other two I mentioned, by far. So what are your thoughts on Good Boy? Leave a comment, like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'm Sky, and I'll see you in the next one.